You don't want to find out 5 years from now that you could have changed direction a little bit and made a lot more money. We want to see 3 years of financials. We want to see their tax returns. We want to see their bank statements. A CFO can tear all into that, make sure it all kind of looks legit for you.
It never crossed my mind that I could hire a CFO to look at a business engagement like that I'm looking to buy and ask the questions, because it's like, yeah, I want to trust the seller, but I also want to verify.
If you're going to hire a bookkeeper or anybody, along that line, do not give them access to your money.
Most business owners don't fail because they are not smart. They usually just don't understand their numbers. And what's interesting is that it's not because they don't care, it's because they don't know where to look and what actually matters. So today's episode is for those who feel overwhelmed by bookkeeping, confused by taxes, or are secretly avoiding their financials and hoping it just all works out. I'm joined by my special guest, Sarah Warren, the CEO and founder of Accounting Angels, a bookkeeping firm supporting small businesses in the local Sacramento area and beyond. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. All right, Sarah, for people that have never heard of Accounting Angels, or really what the role of an accountant is, a bookkeeper and all that good stuff, could you explain what do you do?
Yeah, so bookkeeper. First and foremost, I can help them with individual bookkeeping tasks and just accounting as a whole. And I also offer fractional CFO services as well, but anything having to do with the money that's going in and out of your business.
Nice. So for those who don't know the difference between an accountant, a bookkeeper, and a CFO, what does the accountant do that's different than a bookkeeper versus a CFO?
A bookkeeper will typically be doing more of the individual entries, and an accountant will take it, or a CFO will be taking it after those entries are all compiled. So an accountant might be taking it to file taxes after the information is churned. A CFO will be running the financials of your business, running the money side of your business. Some people will hire a CFO full-time. They need somebody that they are sitting on that money, either making the decisions or helping them make financial decisions. A fractional CFO is, I don't need anybody full-time, but I've got some pretty big decisions around money that I need to understand. And I need somebody that maybe has industry-specific knowledge, a lot more experience than me around financial matters. And I'm going to just hire them a slice of them. So
would that be like, hey, I want to maybe buy a car to offset my taxes. Is that super expensive car really worth it? And is that even eligible for my taxes? Is that where the CFO would come in? Would that be like an example?
A lot of bookkeepers will know that information. That scenario is a very standard scenario, and a bookkeeper will probably be able to help you there. Your CFOs are going to help you. Do I want to acquire a new business? Do I want to sell my old business? I'm going to I want to merge. I want to acquire something. I'm going to try to grow my business. I need strategies around growth for my business. So most of the clients that I have that I do fractional CFO work for, they have a specific, it all hinges from having the bookkeeping first, whether it's me or somebody else doing the bookkeeping. But what are we going to do with that information? We're going to grow. Do we need funding? What's the strategy that you're needing? And it could be a one-time thing, or it could be, ongoing. But typically, I get pulled in because we need to help accomplish X, Y, Z. Help me.
Yeah, that actually is really interesting. If I want to buy a business and I don't know how to read their books or understand their numbers, that's like a decision I may want to hire maybe a one-time engagement or on a fractional basis just to better understand it. Maybe I could run the business, not a big deal, but I don't know how to read the numbers.
Yeah. So, and this is where accounting comes in, because there's people in accounting that will help you do an analysis of that business and actually give you an appraisal for that business. But you want to see it for yourself. So a CFO can work with you to go, okay, you're wanting to buy this business. We want to see 3 years of financials. We want to see their tax returns. We want to see their bank statements. A CFO can tear all into that, make sure it all kind of looks legit for you. And then help you figure out a price. Maybe, you could also do some planning. Okay, if if you were to pull this business into your business, what would those financials look like if you merged in? And so they're going to be able to help you. But there are companies that will just do an appraisal, but they typically are going to charge a lot of money for a business appraisal. And then you're relying on what they're saying, where a CFO will help you to understand this right here might not look right to me, or we need to ask more questions over here.
Yeah, let's dig here, let's dig there for sure. Wow, what an eye-opener. I never even thought of that myself. Like, it never crossed my mind that I could hire a CFO to look at a business engagement like that I'm looking to buy and ask the questions, because it's like, yeah, I want to trust the seller, but I also want to verify the information is accurate. And I don't know what to ask until it's going to be too late. So that's
and then
really
on the
good
flip
to
side,
know,
if you're wanting to leave your business, maybe you want to retire, relocate, whatever, if you want to sell your business, a CFO will be able to help you pivot your books and get prepared for a sale. So making sure that those questions are all answered for a potential buyer. So everything is very transparent for them. So when they look at your business, your stuff is so rock solid that they go, I feel comfortable handing out this money to you. And you can actually get more money because there's not this dark cloud of, I'm going to buy this business. Is it really as good as they say? You prove it.
Yeah, exactly. I know one person who had bought a business and they didn't take into consideration the depreciation on the equipment. And like within the first year, piece of equipment broke and it was like $100,000 to replace it. Like,
how old is your equipment? How worn out is it?
It was worn out.
Does it need service? What kind of service has been done on it? Those are all different things you want to look at. Don't be in a hurry. Churn on it. Chew on it for a while.
Get that fractional CFO. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get the fractional CFO. No, that's awesome. Why is it important to even keep track of your books in the first place? Like, if you don't keep track of your books as a business owner, like, what happens?
So if you don't keep track of your books, it doesn't mean that you're going to go out of business. There's a lot of people that don't really keep track of their books and they have a great business, but it could be better. So keeping track of your books lets you know, if I'm doing something right, I want to do more of that. And if I'm not really doing something too great, I want to do less of that. So it tells you, it's like you're flying at a 50,000 foot view on an airplane. Tells you where you need to focus. Where do I need to kind of land for a bit and work on my business? You don't want to find out 5 years from now that you could have changed direction a little bit and made a lot more money.
Yeah, I guess the details are in the numbers. And
or if you're just, if your business is struggling, sometimes it's really important to know, why is it struggling? I can't fix it if I don't know what's wrong.
That's actually a good point. We're squeaking in debt and we don't know what to do. Oh, man. It's kind of like, people open up these businesses and they don't really think about the accounting side of it. And then you could just bolt on your whole accounting arm by just, booking accounting angels, for example. Man, my mind is like kind of blown right now. It's just like thinking about how simple that this process can be. You're not buying or fixing or creating a whole accounting firm. You could just outsource that.
You can outsource it. You don't have to hire somebody full time. A lot of people will I'm going to hire a office admin and they'll do my bookkeeping for me. And I'm like, well, hire the bookkeeper and have her do admin. Don't hire the admin and have her doing bookkeeping, because usually we come in behind those guys. And I'm not saying that an admin can't be a great bookkeeper, but that's more of a rarity.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because they're not trained for it. They haven't learned it.
It's a different skill set, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Once you kind of get hired out to look through people's books and you start bringing up some of the problem areas, do people generally accept the feedback, or do you kind of find these business owners in denial and making excuses and things like that?
They usually accept it. What I typically will do is, with their permission, I'll kind of make it. And I usually do this before I take on an engagement. I look at their books. I want to give them the price of what it's going to cost for this. And I want them to understand why. And I want them to see what's wrong with their books. And I usually will make like a little video. They can follow along in their books. So I look at their books before I do an engagement. And sometimes they don't have books. So I'm looking at bank statements and credit card statements because I want to have financial clarity. I want them to know ahead of time what the bill is going to be. And I want to know what I'm getting myself into. And so they can follow along in their books. They can see, I can say, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is scaring me. This needs more research. Or sometimes they're really in good shape. Sometimes business owners can do it themselves and they just choose not to anymore. They have better things to do, So it's not always doom and gloom.
Well, that's bright side. At least sometimes they're in good shape.
Yeah.
But you mentioned financial statements or credit card statements and bank statements and stuff like that. So why is it that business owners sometimes don't keep track of their books? Is it just they don't know how?
Sometimes they don't know how. Sometimes they have this aversion to financial stuff. They don't understand it really well. They don't want to admit that they don't understand it really well. And they don't have the time to learn it. And so they just kind of hope it's going to somehow miraculously get better. And sometimes they'll dump it on. They know maybe they have a really good tax person that they can just dump it on at the end of the year. So there's a whole myriad of issues. I do see sometimes their business is not going in the direction that they want, and it'll be the burying their head like the ostrich in the sand. They don't want to know what the reality is. Some of them just don't want to know because they know it's not going to be a great outlook. Some people think it's going to take a bunch of time. I have to learn that. I don't want to learn it. So it's a myriad of reasons. Some people are just procrastinators. They're going to get to it later.
Yeah, definitely out of sight, out of mind. I could definitely see that being a common recurring theme. But let's say you do the financials, right? So you get the credit card statements, you get the bank statements, you put this all together. Now crypto is trending. Mm-hmm. And this is a new form of payment and it's getting adopted more and more by businesses. So in addition to the traditional accounting, bookkeeping, CFO stuff, do you also do cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So a little bit different learning curve, but for me, it's money in, money out. It doesn't really matter how the money is flowing. It's just money in, money out. There are some people that work internationally, and we just deal with the money in, money out in whatever denomination it's coming, whatever way it's coming or going.
Is there any new challenges, though, when you're working with crypto versus the traditional finance?
It is, because it can descend in value or ascend in value. And so you have to kind of keep track of that because, you have and it does happen internationally as well because, money in other countries can do that as well. So it wasn't really anything new, but it is unique to crypto and money and it has more volatility than some of the money in some other countries.
I know, like whenever I convert, or the conversion of crypto is what trips me up the most. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, what did I actually buy this for? I have no idea. Well, what about you? Do you take a
I do.
payment
I do.
Cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I do.
Nice. Hopefully someone sends you a big fat Bitcoin.
That would be great. Yeah. And I do pay, if I have things that I pay and people prefer to receive it in crypto, I will, I'll abide. I don't really care how I pay. I'm like, tell me how you want me to pay you. I'll pay you.
Yeah. You pay someone in crypto, pay someone in cash, send them whatever makes sense. Yeah.
But, when you're dealing with it, I still put it, if I have accepted crypto, it still comes onto my books as income. And when I pay it out, it still leaves as an expense. I still do the bookkeeping properly for it. I also do trades as well.
What can we trade for? Like
trading for, I've traded
can I send you some gold?
I've had people pay me with silver before, and I've traded for services. So hair, I've traded for massages. I've traded my whole kitchen has been redone from contractors before. So I will trade services as well. Nice.
Man, I think, I was going to make a joke about I'll sell you my kidney, but it's probably not a good joke.
I just want to help people. And we're like, let's figure it out. Let's figure out what we can do. When the housing market crashed back, I think it was like 2008 or 2009, I had a whole bunch of contractors that owed me money. And they were like, I really, really need you now more than ever, but I have no money to pay you. And at that time, I bought a house that needed like everything. And so that house got all redone, and it was all on a trade, on different trades, and they were happy. I had to have the work done anyway. I'm like, let's just, figure it out. And we did, and they got through the hump, and they're, still in business and off and running, and we're all happy still.
That's amazing. That's such a unique way to approach business. And it's like you're trading a skill for a skill or a service for a service. It's like really unique way of doing business.
Yeah.
I got to start thinking about that for myself. Yeah. Is there something I could do like that?
But you still account for it properly. So you still do the proper bookkeeping for it, to do it honestly and ethically, and have it,
How would you do that? I mean, you're trading a service for a service.
So those services have a value.
Like fair market value?
Yeah,
or something
you
else?
just kind of agree on the value between the two of you. So, am I working, okay, this is my rate. What's your rate? So I have a guy that, I don't know, he's put in a couple of different heating and air systems for me over the years for, as I move, I need a new one, or we buy a rental or whatever. And, he knows my rate. He gives me, when it's time, what I usually will do is I'll build up where he's owing me more and more. And then when they have some time where their people are slower, I don't want to demand my heating and air when it's super busy. And then he gives me his price, and we just settle up. But those go on the books properly. So even though there's no money trading hands, we show it as traded services that have a monetary value.
Wow, I didn't even realize like these type of things could be done. It was kind of like a misconception of mine, I guess. But on that note, are there other misconceptions about accountants, things that people think are true that aren't really true?
We're not all boring. No, and then, just because somebody is an accountant or a CPA or a tax preparer doesn't mean that they can't make mistakes, doesn't mean that they're perfect. Sometimes you'll get an opinion from one and it'll differ from the opinion of another. I think the devil is in the details. Can I write off a boat? It depends. What kind of a business are you? How are you using that boat in your business? So a lot of people will think that, they're getting bad advice from their tax professional, but it all, depends on the details of it.
Well, that's actually a good question. A tax professional versus a accountant, CFO, bookkeeper, or all of the above. Should I just go to an accountant to file my taxes instead of a tax person?
So you have CPAs, which can file your taxes, and they can represent you in an audit. And so that's the highest level that needs the most education and also has the certifications. You have to sit through tests and all of that to get it. So it's like a bar exam, but it's for CPAs. Then we have enrolled agents, which can represent you if you get audited. And then you have a tax preparer. So you have to be you have to be at least a certified tax preparer to do taxes in the state of California. And then the price is, the CPA is going to be your highest, then your enrolled agent, and then your tax preparer is going to be less expensive. What should each person use is going to depend on their complexity level. Some people are like, I just want to use my CPA. That's who I've had. Who do you vibe with? If you're an individual person and it's personal tax returns, you certainly don't need a CPA if they're very simple. Some people do their own taxes. And that's what's happening with our taxes is that, and I'm not saying this is a political thing or anything like that, but Trump increased our exemptions to where less and less people are filing long forms on their personal taxes because he's increasing those exemptions, which means less tax returns coming in because your exemptions end up higher than if you filed on your own. And so there's less people, but, businesses, because mostly what I deal with is businesses is, how complex are your tax returns? Do you need a tax preparer or do you need a little bit more of a heavy hitter, to help you?
So there's like levels to it. So you could go with the traditional tax preparer, do it on your own, obviously, but the complexity really sounds like the trigger for going from a tax preparer to maybe a CPA or what was the one that was in between?
Enrolled agent.
Enrolled agent. Yeah.
And there are people that, there's all thousands of different specialties within the account. So you can be an accountant, have your degree in accounting, not be a CPA, and they could be doing actuary work. They could be doing statistical analysis. They could be working for the county, the city, looking at project management. has an accounting, so there's tons of different ways that people can work. There's tax attorneys that work on helping people if they're in trouble with an audit or helping people find and comb for more write-offs. There's ones that work for like looking for R&D tax credits. So there's always like little subcategories within it.
I like the comb for more write-offs.
Everybody wants the more write-offs, but it's usually spending money in some kind of way, or a lot. The more money you're making, the more you hear about all these big businesses, and they have teams of tax attorneys on staff, and because they have that income to justify it. For you and I, are we going to go spend $10,000 to save two?
Yeah, maybe not so much.
But a good bookkeeper will make sure that everything is there. They have everything categorized so that you're going to get, as long as they have visibility of it, they're going to make sure it's in its right place. So you're going to get the most that you can get. And they're going to let you know, hey, there's grants going on. You might be, it might be worth looking at some R&D tax credits because of the type of business that you are. Good bookkeepers kind of know what's going on and try to help you. At least, give you a whisper in your ear. And if they can't help you all the way, they're going to push you in a direction for a specialist.
Well, just the criticality of having someone like that on your team, it seems like it's very, very important. Well, what do you think about like AI nowadays and that being a prevalent thing? People are turning to it to probably just get advice and run their numbers, things like that. So do you see that creeping into the accounting world?
It's very much entered into the accounting world and has been for several years now. We use it as a tool, and it's embedded into a lot of our programs. So things like it remembers what you did last time with categorizations and things like that. Doesn't go deep yet. So it's very much in its infancy, so it's a little baby that's trying to learn, and I think it'll grow and it will get better and better and better. And I'm very, very hopeful that it can start doing, but it doesn't do anything complex right now. It's very, very basic at this point.
So business owners, they can't really use it for their accounting or bookkeeping, essentially.
Well, it will be embedded in the program. So I'm a big QuickBooks person, so it's already embedded within the program. So it's guessing at things. So it's going out to so you go by at a restaurant or a gas station, it knows ARCO, AM, PM. It's going to say, hey, is that gas? So it's already being used. And for me as a bookkeeper, in some ways, it makes my job easier. In some ways, it makes my job harder because people will accept what the AI says when it's sometimes just wrong. And so I like it, but I don't want it to take control of anything at this point. It's not trustworthy at this point. Yeah. I think it will get better. Hopefully it gets a lot better, Yeah,
we'll see how it shakes out. But it's not like you could just use Chat GPT or something like that. This is AI that's a bolt-on to QuickBooks. So in this sense, you're using QuickBooks still, and you're getting some AI complementary services. Yeah, but like for a business owner, they're not going to be able to go like, oh, I'm just going to go Grok or Gemini.
You can absolutely do that as a business owner. So if you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know anything. You can take your financials and you can upload your financials, take out the names and stuff on it, and you can upload that data and ask it, tell me about what's going on. Here's my balance sheet. Here's my P&L. Tell me about what's going on with my business. What are some good things? What are some bad things? You can absolutely do that. And it does pretty doggone good. There's some things I'm like, ooh, that was really, really, really bad. But it does pretty doggone good. It'll tell you, you're overweighted on debt. It'll give you really great basics right now. And I think you should, because anything that you can learn and reason on, why wouldn't you try it?
Yeah, you made two good points there. One pro tip is don't put confidentiality stuff in there because you don't know where that's going. So definitely do your due diligence. And two, it's going to be directionally accurate. So trust but verify type of thing. Might give you some good advice, but could also be very, very wrong.
It could be very wrong. And then also it might not be industry specific advice. Your industry, whatever that might be, might have certain nuances to it that are very, very important in the equation.
So accountants are not replaceable.
Not at this point. Not at this
Not
point.
yet. Now, you alluded to this earlier where you do a little bit of consulting before you engage or confirm that you're going to take on the client. So let's say someone does book a session with accounting angels. What would that first consultation look like?
So we either get on, you're welcome to come to my office. It's over off of Power Inn on Highway 50. Meet your bookkeeper face to face, because it's a very trust relationship, very intimate relationship. We know everything about you, so some people want that, I want to know where my bookkeeper is. Or we get on a Zoom call and we just talk about your business, what's going on with your business, what are your struggles, are you too busy and need somebody to take it over, do you have nothing, do you have somebody that got in there and did some work wrong, do you want me to clean it up and hand it back over, do you need some training so you can do it yourself? We find out what the parameters are. Most of my clients want me to just take the bookkeeping. This is what's so great about this job, is that nobody wants to do it. If you're one of the weirdos like me that likes this kind of work, they just want to dump it on you. So then what we talk about is gaining access to their files. So do you have something right now, or do we need to set something up? Because I like to set something up formally that they can access when needed, so they can see what I'm doing. Or if they have something already, then they give me access to it, and I just tootle around in their books, find out what's going on. If I can't tootle around in their books, then I need, raw data to kind of be able to price point it. How far are we going back? I was working on a 15-year cleanup. Never filed taxes in 15 years.
Wow.
Working on a 15-year cleanup, or do you want me to start this month? I'll go back as far as you need me to. We pick it up. We figure out what we're going to do. And I look at their system, because some people, they need a lot of detail within their books. Some people don't. I kind of just talk to you and get my brain around what you're hoping to accomplish, and then give you some prices. And then you can either say yes, or you can say no. And I don't have any contracts. That's the other thing too. I work at somebody else's pleasure. So as long as you want me there, I will be there. But at any time you don't need me or don't want me anymore, bye, kind of a thing. I'll just get my work done that you've wanted me to. So there's no, you're not signing your life away for the next 3 years.
Yeah. You're not locked in. You could do, it's really ad hoc, on a as needed basis.
Yeah. Some people, if I know you want it monthly, it'll be on a monthly reoccurring until you tell me otherwise. Some people are like, let's do it monthly. And then they'll say, oh, let's move to a quarterly. Some people just want me to do it one time, clean it up, hand it back to me, teach me how to do it. And then, I'll call you when I have questions. It's all fine.
It's more accessible than I actually realized. That's another misconception of mine. I thought this was a super complex thing. It kind of feels like law to me in a way. You know what I mean? It's just out of sight. It's
I think a fear of an unknown. You don't know what it is. So then you think it's going to be a bigger thing than it's going to be. Yeah. But I've been doing this for over 30 years. It's my job to make it look easy. We're going to do this for you. No problem. And there are some industries I don't work in, because I'm not experienced in those industries, and I have other people that I will refer that to. So if it's not a good fit for me, I'm not going to take something on that I know is going to be outside of my specialty.
In my mind, I guess it was just really complex. Talking to you has already simplified the way I think about it. You know what I mean? So that's been a huge mind block that has now just been removed. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I want to help people. And I want to make it easy for them to help me. That doesn't mean that the work is going to be necessarily easy. And there are going to be some things that a business owner will have to help me out with. But you help me, and you're going to get, and then I'll be able to help you. And the way when I onboard, I try to onboard it in a way that values that business owner's time. So I want to get access to things. And so that way I can find things and get around on my own without having to ask every single little thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say a business comes to you, or businesses that are struggling, they come to you and they're like, my books are on fire. I don't know what to do. Is there a common trend or challenge that you see in the books, or something that jumps out to you is like, oh yeah, most businesses typically see this recurring thing, whether it's taking on too much debt or something else? What jumps out at you once they're now engaged and they're like,
One big thing that some business owners will do is that they commingle their money with their personal money. And so then it makes it a lot more difficult and a lot larger job. So if you get a business, have a separate business bank account. Have a separate credit card. If you're going to use a credit card, have a separate credit card for your business. Spend your personal stuff on your personal stuff. Spend your business on your business stuff. If you need money, transfer money from your business account to your personal. If your business needs money, transfer money from your personal account into your business. Don't run it all together because it makes it really hard for people like us to untwist. And some people won't even take you as a book, I'll take them if they're commingling. But it costs more money because there's a lot more transactions on the personal side. And I have to look at every time you go to Taco Bell. I don't want to see every time you go to Taco Bell. I don't need to know what restaurant you had dinner at last night. But if I have to look on your personal stuff, then I know everything that you're doing. Every time you pull out your wallet, I know about it and I have to deal with it. So it makes it a lot more cumbersome, a lot more difficult, and you have to sift through all that. And, is it business? Is it personal? I don't know, because you're commingling your stuff. Whereas if you have a meal that you bought and it's coming out of your business account, I'm like, that's a business meal. It's not your family going to dinner that night for dinner, right? So that's a big thing. Another big thing that people will do is that they hire subcontractors when they're really employees. And the state of California is super cracking down on that. So just a word of caution there, because I do see that happen quite often. I had a guy that he has a construction company. And then this is a new thing that the workers' comp insurance companies are going back on these contractors. And they're saying, okay, you had these subs that worked for you. You need to prove that they have workers' comp.
Wow. That's crazy.
So you have a good bookkeeper, they're going to warn you. When you go to hire the plumber that has, a workers' comp policy. Get a certificate of insurance. You pay a bunch of people, you go pay somebody $100,000, it's going to cost you another $20,000, depending on what your workers' comp rate. It could be $15,000 or $20,000 a bill that you're unexpecting to pay your sub, because they're going to force you to pick them up on workers' comp.
No freaking way. What about all these handymen and painters and these little odd certificates that you can get and do all these jobs and stuff like that?
They're. I'm not saying that they're not legal to work. They can work and you can hire them. They're fine. It's just that if they don't have workers' comp, insurance company is going to make you pick up workers' comp on them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think people know. This is the first time I'm hearing of that. I'm like, oh shoot, this is probably a way bigger deal than people think.
Yeah. So that's something that has started happening in the last year or two. So then I get a contractor. I warn them about it. They can do this to you. Let me see your insurance policy. Look on the policy. Sure enough, there it is. There it is. They're like, let me see the certificates. We used to just be able to prove that they were licensed. Here's their license numbers. We'd put it we'd turn it over and it had all the license numbers. They check the license numbers. You're good to go. Then they changed it to where you have to have a certificate of insurance. Now you have to have the certificate and proof of workers' comp. And that could be a huge deal because some of these contractors only use they sub it all out.
I think people just don't know. I mean, even the individual handyman or painter or person who's looking for subcontract work, I don't even think they know that they need it, because they're thinking, I just need it.
They don't have to have it.
Right.
So if it's like the plumber down the street, they're licensed. They have a license, they're licensed with the board. They have to have a minimal insurance, but they're not required to have workers' comp.
Yeah.
The real hammer around here is the insurance companies. They a lot of times have more power over things than even the government, because the insurance companies are dictating things above and beyond what the state or the feds or your county or city will dictate.
This is super interesting. Now, for those who want to differentiate themselves in the market, for the little people that are just trying to figure out how to get those subcontractors, if they pull out workers' compensation, it makes them way more desirable as subcontractors.
And so they can get, if they know, hey, It's just me working. I don't have any payroll. They can go get, which is what the insurance companies want. They can go get a minimal workers' comp insurance. So they have that, certification. So they're going to go and be a subcontractor for somebody. They have that, which will make them, more desirable as this all kind of, starts really shaking down.
Dang. It's so interesting.
And it'll cost anywhere, I don't know, minimal policy probably, I don't know, $700 to $1,500 a year, maybe, I would guess, because I've seen them kind of in that range, because I know that some of my clients that are, it's just them working, that's kind of, they'll go grab a policy and that's what it'll be.
Yeah. That's super interesting. Do you know, man, now that you open up the books and you're like, okay, where's your workers' comp for these subcontractors? What are the things that every business owner should know about their numbers?
Well, you want to know how much money you got in the bank? Not how much money the bank says you got in the bank, but how much do you really have in the bank, right? Because you could have checks outstanding, or you could have your payroll that's not coming through till tonight. So it's not what you have in your bank at the moment. What do you really have in your bank? What's coming up that's going to be coming out of your bank? So what do you really have in your bank? If you have debt, what's your plan? You're charging up your credit card. What's your plan for paying that off? You want to know how much money you're making, but you want to know where you're making it at. What things are the profit centers for you? You want to know what your expenses are. You want to know what your profit margin is. So what's your average profit margin? So if you're a landscaper and your average profit margin is 10% after you pay all of your expenses, you go to bid a $200 job and your average, you're going to make $20 on that job for the month because your average profit margin is 10%. And then people try to get you to discount your work. You're going to know how much cushion you got there. You're going to know how much because it's not how much money you bring in, it's how much money you net. How much do you have left after you pay everything? And you also have to figure in you're going to pay, because when you're looking at your financials, your taxes are not there yet because you don't owe those taxes yet. So you have to be also figuring out what your taxes are going to be. And so sometimes we'll even make it more visible on the books so that you can kind of see, okay, that's what I'm starting to pay in some now in advance of them being due. So I can kind of start seeing those so that you don't end up with a big, huge tax bill. But I like to try to focus on the profit of the business rather than what's coming in my funnel, what's left for me at the end.
Yeah, I think those are really important because that analogy you just gave, I mean, if it's going to take me 4 hours to do this work and I'm making $20 at the end of the day because of my expenses, then I'm working for $5 an hour. Is that really worth it?
It reframes things for you if you know your net profit on things.
When you see people do their bookkeeping on their own, what's the common mistakes that they typically make?
They commingle their money, which we kind of talked about. I just saw this yesterday. On their books, it has their profit and loss, and then they have expense car payment. And then, their $447 car payment. I'm like, that's wrong. They're like, why is that wrong? Why can't I write off my car payment? I'm like, you don't get the whole write-off for the car payment. So that's a really common one. So if your company owns the vehicle, you're paying off the loan on the vehicle and you only get to write off the interest on the vehicle. So you go get a credit line, or I'll see credit line, and it'll be on the profit and loss. It is an expense. Credit line payment, $2,000. I'm like, no, when you got the money on the credit line, it wasn't income to you. When you pay it back, it's not an expense. It's just the interest. That's all you get is the interest. This is all learnable, all completely learnable, but they just won't spend the time to want to sit down and learn it. It's not interesting. It's boring. So immersing yourself in the stuff a little bit, listening to books, kind of trying to get into it. And there's a lot of audibles that the people are very entertaining. So it's not quite so dry and boring. It's all learnable.
Do you have a story of someone who's come and was like, okay, I've really messed this up and I need to get this turned around? Any crazy turnaround story you can share?
Yeah, all the time. It's they're usually coming, I'd say probably 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they're coming to me because something's jacked up. Maybe 5 to 10% of the time, they're actually proactive. I'm starting a new business, or I've been doing it. It's in great shape. Sometimes the bookkeeper is retiring and they're in great shape, but those are kind of rare. Usually something is messed up. I couldn't get a loan. The bank laughed me out of the bank. My accountant is refusing to do my taxes because he says my books are not, that's good news to me, because some accountants, they just throw it back out. They look at the books and they're like, I'm not filing these taxes. I can tell by looking at it, it's messed up. It doesn't make sense. There are some that just will file them, and that's even worse. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do they even file those? I don't even understand, because they just take the reports and file it based on the reports. They're not looking through and I'm not trying to down talk a tax preparer or anything like that, because some of them, you give it to them 2 hours before the tax deadline on an extension, they can't dig too hard. They're just going to file it with what you gave them, because you gave it to them like the last second. But pretty much everybody that comes to me, they know something's wrong. That's why they're there.
Have you ever found extra money by going through books, or
all the time.
People get more taxes back?
All the time. So I just had a guy yesterday. He bought a business, and the accountant told him, you can't write off, a business can't buy itself. And I'm like, well, can you at least write off the interest? And so then he went back to the accountant, and the accountant said, yeah, I can. We're going to refile 24. So he'll get a good refund. He'll get a tax refund on that. I'm like, I can understand the business not being able to buy it by itself, but you're paying interest. You should be able to at least pick that up. And it was a lot of money. And he didn't pick it up in 24, and he gets it in 25. But a lot of times where they say that they got paid for something, and I'm like, no, you did not get paid for that. Oh yeah, I got an email saying that they were going to pay. And I'm like, no, you never got paid. And then we come to find out they never got paid. It happens all the time. Checks are missing, and I'm like, you did not get, I remember seeing that check through. I'm like, well, I don't know what happened to it, but it never came to the bank. You did not get that money. They call up and they they get whoever owed them the money to reissue it. And then 6 months later, guess what I found?
Oh, the check that was slinging around, put off to the side in a folder somewhere.
Yeah. I had one guy, he was and it was a lot of money. It was $28,000. He's like, I got paid for that. I'm like, no, you didn't. I know. I'm like, I've looked and looked. You told me you got paid for it. I went back and re-looked 3 times. And they sent the email saying that they were going to, electronically ACH the money to him. Well, somehow with this, not with my client, but the client, the people that were paying him, something on their end went hanky, and they put in a wrong bank account number for some bank in Minnesota someplace, and the money went over there. And I'm like, how did this happen? And they're like, we have no idea, but it got deposited to some scammer bank account. And he saw the email come through saying that they were going to pay. And it was a big, well-known company.
Wow.
He's like, they would have not paid it. They paid it. And I'm like, no, they did not pay it. I'm like, no. So then he called him up, found out what was going on. He's like, that's not my bank account number. Where did you even get that bank account number?
Oh, they got phished. It was a phishing email.
It had nothing to do with us. We didn't do anything wrong. Oh. We did not do anything wrong. But they thought that they were paying him, and they never paid that business. And so then they had to reissue the money, and he got the money. But that happens all the time.
That's crazy. Wow. Is there any other non-obvious benefits that people tend to get once they have some of that financial clarity?
I got this client, their restaurant, I'm doing their books, and they're using the DoorDash and eBay Eats, Uber Eats, or whatever it is. And I'm like, you need to stop using this Uber Eats because they're charging you way too much money. You're literally going to you're literally better off handing somebody $10 and saying, don't order from me. That's how bad it is. You are losing money. And so we were able to tweak their menu items to not offer every menu item on those platforms, raise the rates on those items, and then also go back to the Uber Eats and the DoorDashes and negotiate a better rate, and to where those things that they were selling on those platforms became profitable for them.
Wow.
So that's from getting financial clarity on it. Sometimes you're feeling the pressure, like your employees are just constantly leaving. You're having this constant attrition of employees, and you start finally getting your clarity on your financial, and you realize I'm paying too little. And so your people are coming to work for you, learning how to do the job, and then jumping ship to go make more money. Do you want to retain your employees, or do you want to have a revolving door? So let's bring your pay scale up a bit so that you can retain your employees. You're making enough money. We know that you're making enough money. You can add some benefits for your employees so that you can then attract a better employee. And you know that you can afford to do that. So they'll stay with you for a little bit longer. Those are all things that are coming through. You can prove it on your financials. Yes, I can afford to do this. This is how much impact it'll make going forward. Sometimes the opposite is true. Everybody that comes and asks for a raise, they give them a raise because they're a bleeding heart, and then they are not profitable and they're losing money because they have way too much staff and they're paying way too much. But it all kind of comes out. What's your industry standard? How much should your payroll be? What percentage of your income should your payroll be?
Those are all really great questions. And definitely, I think that just the emotional weight of that getting lifted, just knowing those answers, and then better able to see where the losses truly are. I mean, at the end of the day, business owners are working night and day. I mean, until it gets like fully optimized, right? I mean, at the beginning, they're wearing all the hats, but at some point in time, it does get easier. But especially those early years when every dollar counts and every loss counts at the same time, I think, I think
every
that helps.
Every success counts. So if you realize this has really been good, this is a great project, go get more of those.
Yeah.
How can I get more of those? What kind of marketing and advertising can I focus on that's going to bring in more of that kind of work? Because that was that's my sweet spot right there. I want more of that. How can I tap into that market? So it focuses you for good or bad, where you need to be.
Yeah, especially if like the people aren't buying certain types of foods and those are either going to waste or just so infrequent. Like, why do you still have it on the menu item? Just change your menu item to something that's being purchased more frequently. So it does help you make data-driven decisions. And I think really that is the takeaway. That's pretty amazing. That's why everybody got to know their numbers. Oh, man.
You have to learn the language of money.
What's the type of feedback that you typically get whenever you're done the books for them? You hand this stuff back to the business owners.
So my name of my business is Accounting Angels. I got my name not because I am saying I'm an accounting I am like, it's from my clients. They named me because they'd say, You're my angel. You're my accounting angel. Because you're taking a weight off of their shoulders that they know. And even, I'm not saying that every client that I have is zeroing into their books and spending hours churning that data. Some of them just want the peace of mind. I just want to run my business, be in the trenches. I just want to know tax time, it's time, so it could be very just simple peace of mind for them. And they're not going to be, restructuring everything. It could be a business owner. I've been running this business 30 years. I got it cranking. I just don't want to do it anymore myself. They run the gambit. But I'm that's my, you are an angel.
Oh, man.
And there's nothing that I'm doing that is in any way secret or mysterious. There's plenty of bookkeepers. We all just want to be helpful and help people. You just have a heart that wants to help people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a lot of details, it's just a lot of data to go through and if for it to be accurate. But yeah,
it's a lot of minuscule data.
That's exactly how I would say too. Like, man, if you solve this problem of mine, I'd be like, oh, what an angel. For sure. So that's how you got Accounting Angels. That's the backstory.
How I got the name. It was not for me. It was, you're my angel. You're just an angel. Thank you for helping me. And I want to work for people. Some people don't value what we do. And if you don't, you could do, you're fine to do it yourself. As long as it's right at the end of the day, it's absolutely fine. But some people really value that time that they have, the burden off of them, and they don't want to have to deal with it. I always say, I get my house cleaned. That's my splurge for myself. Could I do it myself? Absolutely. But it would take me twice as long and it would be done half as good.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And you can spend your time doing something more fun anyways. So
And I'm
that's
like,
good.
and she loves it. And like my house cleaner, I mean, she's like, I worship, thank you, my goddess, for doing this for me.
That's amazing. No,
And I'm so appreciative that she does it, and so then, I'm that's kind of how I feel like I am. It's almost like the house cleaner for your business to make sure that stuff is off of your plate. But you can use that information for good, to throttle your business forward, make sure that everything made it to the bank, catch mistakes, errors, those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. What about like challenges, I guess, when they arise with that type of stuff? You help with that
so sometimes businesses, I've been through several audits. I can't represent people in an audit, but I've had clients that are like, she's going to just go to her. She'll give you everything you need. And so then when I'm working in their files, I save as I go all of my work source. So I'm saving every receipt that somebody has given me. If they're giving me receipts, it's not required. You can save your own. I'm saving all of the bank statements, credit card statements, loan statements, purchase agreements, contracts. All of that stuff gets saved. So if you have an audit, I just hand over whatever the auditor needs. And so far, I haven't had much problems, as long as you're doing things the right way. I see audits with sales tax. I don't really see that many income tax audits. And what they'll do typically is that they'll do an abbreviated audit first. So they're going to audit the income only. So they ask for your bank statements and then they ask for your income only on your financial statements. If everything jives, they just stop the audit and don't even go further. Because income is very unarguable. You can't argue much about the income. You can argue about all the expenses. Is this a write-off? If the income doesn't jive, then that's when they open up the audit. So that's why I always make sure my income jives, because a lot of times in the rare chance that you get an audit, it won't go very much further. EDD audits are very common now, very common because people are hiring subcontractors and the state of California is cracking down on that. So they want to know who your subs are. Are they a real business? So I'm a perfect example of a subcontractor. I have a real business. I have other clients. I have a business license. I have insurance. I have a website. I pay my taxes. I'm not really an employee, but you're paying me as a subcontractor, which happens a lot.
So what is EDD checking for?
They are looking to see, are they a real business? So you're paying this person. Are they a real business? Do they have other clients? Do they have insurance? Is it a real business? So you're going to go, let's say you are a plumbing company and you're going to go hire a plumber to work for you. They're going to do plumbing. Do they have their own plumbing business? Do they have their own insurance? Or are they really an employee that you don't want to pay all the withholdings on and all that, pay all the taxes on, that you're going to just 1099 that poor guy at the end of the year?
But what is EDD looking for?
Because they want the employment tax on it.
Oh, there's employment taxes. That's not the same thing as workers' comp, right?
No, not the same thing as workers' comp.
So there's an employment tax?
So every time you draw a paycheck, there's taxes that are taken out of your paycheck, but there's also taxes that the company has to match on that side. And
so wait, hold on. So the company's getting taxed and the employee's getting taxed?
Yeah. When you get your paycheck, you're getting taxed, but also on the employer side, they're paying in as well. You didn't know that?
No, it feels like they're just double tax at this point.
It is. So there's certain taxes, and there's also certain taxes that you don't pay that the employer has to pay on your for you. So some of them are taxes that are your withholdings are one-sided. So your withholdings, that only comes out of your, so if you say take out, married 3, withholdings, that's your money. But there's Social Security, there's all these different taxes, and some of them are matched by the employer, and there's additional taxes that the employer has to pay that you're not paying.
Wow.
And so the state is looking for those taxes on the employer side.
Oh, I bet you, because like California's going through this big budget deficit that they're just
Oh,
trying
yeah,
to get money
they're-
from wherever they can. That's so interesting. I didn't know that there was all these additional little taxes, and that I just, I don't have a business in that sense that does any of that stuff. So
that's where a bookkeeper will help walk you through. They see somebody that you're paying, they're going to say, I need the paperwork for this person.
Yeah.
Because they're watching your back. They know that either they're going to be an employee or they're going to be a 1099 type of an employee. And they're going to make sure that they're going to watch to see if they reach the threshold to get a 1099. They're going to watch your back in those areas to where but I am seeing EDD audits popping up a lot more often now. If you have employees that are on payroll, you're always going to have an annual workers' comp audit. That's just, if you have employees on payroll, you have workers' comp in the state of California, you're going to have an audit for workers' comp. That's normal. And these are things that I do part of. So if I give you a monthly bookkeeping rate, I'm doing your books all year long. When it comes time to do 1099s, I'm just going to file them for you because I'm capturing that data so that you're going to be compliant automatically. If you have employees, I already know you're going to have a workers' comp audit. I'm just going to do that for you. It's included in my price. I'm going to include that in because I'm already looking at your payroll anyway. I'm going to tuck the information that I know they're going to need to the side. And you send me over your workers' comp, where I have to log in, and they're going to send you a letter or an email saying log in here and do it. I just go do it.
Geez, wow. What about offshore resources?
Yeah, you can use offshore resources.
But do you got to do do you got to do like the workers' comp for them? Do you got to do this?
So typically, it can depend by business, but typically most small businesses, if you offshore the work, then they fill out what's called a W-8 form that basically says, I don't live here. You don't own me, and you don't have to do anything there at that point. You're kind of off at least, but you have to have that form set aside because if you ever do get the EDD audit, you have to prove that this is somebody that lives outside of the United States. So they're not, I don't have to 1099 them.
Nice. Okay. I got to keep that in mind. If I ever grow and if I ever have offshore resources, I got to actually talk to accounting angels before I do anything. But
and I usually like to, you can wait for the audit to go find that person and make them fill out the form. But it's much easier that before you pay them any money, just make them fill out the form, because by the time you ever get an audit, it could be 4 years from now. And that person is like, gone. Who knows where they're at, So I always say, get all your ducks in a row before you start paying people money.
I was checking out your website and you have a application called Keeper. So can you explain what is that app and how does it work?
It was called Keeper. Now it's called Double, but we've kind of just called it our online portal. So I don't like secure things just out into the world. So I wanted a place where people, if you want to email me stuff, that's fine. You can do so at your own risk, but emails get hacked. My email's never been hacked, but other people's emails have been hacked. I don't like for things to kind of go unsecure. So that's a portal. I provide it. They do not pay for it. And that is the repository where they can upload documents to me. I can ask questions. That's where I publish financials too. They don't have to use it. They can say, no, just email me the stuff. And with their permission, I will. But I just wanted to have a place where if you wanted to send me something that you just don't feel comfortable sending through email, maybe you have an assistant and you're saying, hey, give so-and-so a raise. You don't want her to see that. You can log into that portal. It's safe. It's secure. It's confidential. And you can get, we can communicate there and you can give me documents and I can also give you documents. You can also go to my website and upload documents there as well. But that's just something that I provide. And it's a secure app, program that I use for that, but it's not required.
Nice. Yeah. You have options and try to simplify it for people that want to either go through the website or through this application. I just saw it, so I wanted to ask about it. So yeah, it's cool.
Just, so that's where I keep all of my documents, stay in there. It's safe. It's secure. It's got, HIPAA and, it's all locked down. So if there's, something that I need to get somebody, we always have like this time of the year, people lose their W-2s, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to send this W-2. I don't want it to just go through the email. So the assistant sees what so-and-so made. I'm going to put it up into that portal. They can business owner can log in, pull it down, and they can, do with it what they will.
With all this accounting talk, where did you start? Did you go to school to be an accountant? Did you
Yeah.
get your CPA?
So I eventually went to school for it, but I started off working my family's businesses. My father was an entrepreneur. He loved to, run businesses, wasn't good with the bookkeeping. I started off just as a kid, stuffing envelopes. I had good handwriting. And this is like when we did the bookkeeping by hand. So this is a long time ago. And I would have to learn how to do it by hand. And then just kept with it, learned, we used to start off in the 1990s with QuickBooks Desktop back in the day, and just worked in different businesses, learned different industries. And then in the 2000s, I started going and teaching QuickBooks all across the United States, teaching QuickBooks. But yes, eventually in the 90s, I went to school and got the proper education. But a lot of it is, the sidewalk university. You just learn things as you go. You work in an industry for many, many years. You start learning that particular industry at a very deep level. That's one of the things I really like about this business is I learn new things every day. Every day I'm learning something. Somebody mentions something, there's something, a new law, a new tax, a new, this big, beautiful bill. I'm like, I got to tear me into it and learn about it. What's going on with that,
Yeah, there's a lot that they're changing or proposing in it. So that's going to be, who knows, maybe use your AI tools to digest it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't look at anything while it's proposed. As soon as like IRS or the state start issuing, the publications on it, like this is how it's going to work. Because they'll put something into law or make a, proclamation for it. And then the entities that are doing all the administration of it actually set the rules for it. And a lot of times, we learned like with the PPPs and all of that stuff, they changed the rules. They'd have one rule. So we'd all do it this way. And then they changed their mind. We do it that way. So sometimes even then it shakes down different, than what you intended. It was a bunch of waste of time.
Yeah, wait for the processes and procedures.
Yeah.
Then go for it. Oh, that makes sense.
And then you change your mind on this doggone stuff.
So you were going to school though, and so did you end up getting a CPA, a degree?
No, I did not go for my CPA, but I just went for accounting and got my bachelor's in accounting. I used to actually do tax returns. I was a certified tax preparer, but I hated it. It kind of almost works against you when you do bookkeeping, because bookkeeping, you're doing it every month and it's very, very regular. And then you start doing tax preparation and it's very concentrated into several months of the year. And it just threw off my feng shui because I felt like I'm falling behind on my regular clients because I have to do all these tax returns and I can't work 24/7. So I play with going back and starting doing taxes again. But I kind of like, for my clients, I like that I send it out to somebody else to just double check that everything is just perfect. They put the cherry on top and then they file the taxes. So I do like to have that checks and balances. I know that there's some bookkeepers who will actually file the taxes, and I've kind of decided I'm not going to go in that direction because I do like that, somebody else is also kind of rubber stamping all of my work as well. And I think it protects my clients a little bit better than just me being, the only one that gets to say.
The tax preparer is doing all of it all at once, so it could be a little bit of a heavy lift. But let's kind of backtrack a little bit. So you're doing the accounting for the businesses you grew up in. You're helping out your parents, so on and so forth. But then at some point, you decided to make the jump to creating accounting angels. So what made you make the jump from just doing it traditionally to creating your own company?
Yeah, so I was worked for the family business. My father passed away. And so then I was working for other people full time, doing bookkeeping, learning more, because the more businesses you do accounting for, the better you get at it. A service-based business is going to be completely different than a product type business, a business that has inventory versus a business that doesn't have inventory. These are all nuances. And so then I started teaching QuickBooks. And what I would do is when I was teaching, people would say, can you give me a couple of hours? My books are messed up. And so that gave me even more insight. So I'd come in early into a town early. I'd stay late and just help them with their books. And that was a very big learning curve for me because I got my nose in lots of different kinds of businesses. This is what's going on. And it really helped my skill level go up. But it was extremely exhausting. Very exhausting because I was traveling to different cities every day. You get to the you're getting into the hotel at like 10 o'clock at night. You're up at 7 for the next day, day after day. It became very, just physically exhausting. And then I had people calling me for bookkeeping, so what, you start doing bookkeeping and then more people call you for bookkeeping. And so then I'm like, why am I on and off this plane carrying all this luggage and all this stuff? And I'm exhausted all the time when I could just work here in Sacramento. And they're all good people, nice people. They're appreciative. They're begging me to work for them. And so that's when I kind of just decided I'm going to just bite the bullet and just do it, on my own for myself. And I had started, where I was traveling and teaching. That was my business where I traveled and taught. I worked for other people at first. And then I'm like, well, I can do this, So I'd book my, rooms and all that. And I was just like, it's just not me anymore. It's just too tiring. It's like my bones got old. Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, I loved the teaching part of it. I loved the people and the travel was great for a while, but it got really old. So I'm like, I have this business almost ready made. So I was working just all the time because I was working, doing the training and teaching. And then I'd come back and I'm doing bookkeeping and then I have more and more and more clients. And it's hard for me to say no because they need your help. I just want to help people.
Well, Sacramento is the best city in the world. So, welcome to Sacramento. I'm glad you landed here to do your accounting.
No, I've been here I was pretty much, raised here from the time I was a little teeny kid. So I don't remember anything else. So Sacramento's my home.
Nice.
Raised a family here and never plan on leaving. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are kind of leaving California or they retire someplace else. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, retire right here. Why not?
I like it.
If you had to give a piece of advice for any industry, I know every industry might be a little bit different. What would that advice be?
Don't commingle your money with your personals and just understand the language of money. And this does not have to be hard. It could be get some audibles going when you're driving to work, listen. When you're getting ready for work, listen. So it could be very passive. If that particular person isn't exciting or interesting enough, then try something else. It could be free because you can check them out from the library. You can check out audibles on the library, but just kind of start trying to learn the language of money. What's your chart of accounts? What does that mean?
What does that mean? What is a chart of accounts?
That was what you had asked me earlier. A chart of accounts is all the categories that are in your business. So it could be your bank account is a category. So if you have 4 different bank accounts, you'll have 4 different items on your chart of accounts for those 4 different things. A chart of accounts item can also be an expense, but those are the things that are unique to your business and they will either transition onto your profit and loss or to your balance sheet. And so they're going to be unique to your business. So we custom do a chart of accounts for your particular business. So if you are a fence guy that builds fences, your chart of accounts is going to be different than a guy that does car detailing, right? They're going to be completely different. They're going to have different categories, different names. That's where a good bookkeeper will custom make that. When I talk to them, I'm listening. What are they calling that? And I try to call it that in the chart of accounts. So then that way, when you look at the financials, you're going to know what it is. But they're just simply categories. And so we might have that listed on our website, chart of accounts, conversion, because that's where we're customizing it so it'll make sense for you better.
Yeah, that's a good tip, though. I mean, ultimately, whatever your industry is, just learn the language of something as simple as chart of accounts. Just sign up for a podcast, an Audible book, or something that can kind of get you into that mindset. And then whenever they talk to accounting angels, they'll be able to speak your language a little bit.
Yeah, and I always say I'm a translator because sometimes you'll talk to accountants and they'll start talking about things and it doesn't make sense. or if I'm talking about something and it doesn't make sense, then you ask me, elaborate. I don't understand. Just tell me I don't understand, and I'll break it down a different way. And I'm like, if clients tell me something, and one of the things I say is, can you say that a different way? I don't understand. So sometimes they'll tell me, can you say it a different way? And I'm like, absolutely. Because, it's something that you should understand. Because if you understand it, you've got that under your belt. It's going to serve you well for years into the future.
Absolutely. What qualities do you think makes a good bookkeeper or accountant?
The ability to sit behind a desk all day and look at numbers and not be bored with it. The ability to, in your workflow, create checks and balances for yourself. So how am I going to cross-check my work to make sure my work is right? Instead of, so that way you can make sure everything is perfect, so like you balance your checkbook, right? And you know that it balances because it goes to the penny, but you can also set systems in place for yourself similar to that, to that you're making sure that your work is correct. Don't feel like you have to know everything because you can learn and read, but I would say read the IRS publications to be able to understand them. So understand what the heck they're talking about. That's going to make a good bookkeeper, because there's always exceptions to every rule, and you have to be able to understand what those exceptions are and just chug away at it. There's a lot of free online training. It's a good career. It really is. You can work remotely. It's a great career if you have children. If you think that you're going to work and do bookkeeping with a bunch of screaming kids in the house, it's not going to happen. But it's a good career because you can work before they wake up. You can work while they nap. You can work after they go to sleep. But it does take concentration. So those people that can concentrate on things, self-motivation, it takes a lot of self-motivation because there's not going to be anybody telling you what you need to do. You've got to be self-directed enough to know when things are due and getting it done early, before it's due.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Organized, attention to detail, focused,
able to understand your data, what's the rules here, and be able to read. And the states and the feds and stuff, the things that they write it in a way that makes it kind of hard to understand. And so sometimes you need practice at reading it and going, what is that saying? I don't even understand what they're saying. So you got to get used to reading that stuff and understand what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like they write in hieroglyphics, to be honest. Like, I have no idea what they're saying. So let's say someone wanted to get in touch with you, what are your social media websites, handles?
It should be Accounting Angels. I'm based in Sacramento. I have a Facebook page. You can go to my website, which is accountingangels.com. Right on the website, there's a little book, a Zoom. You can book a meeting with me, a consultation. It's free right there. All else fails, you can call me up on the phone. If I'm with the client, I won't answer, but otherwise I try to answer the phone when it rings. And that phone number that's on my website rings right to me. That's my phone number.
Nice.
I try to be available for everybody.
Accounting Angels Sacramento. We'll get it in the description below.
Okay,
we'll
good.
pop it up in the lower thirds and everything. So, and then your phone number and address will pop them in.
Okay, yeah.
You have your office hours. I'm assuming people could pop in and check you out. So we'll link all that stuff. And
if you want to pop in, you can. But if I'm in a meeting with a client, the door will be shut. I'm not going to interrupt a client. So if you're going to pop in, usually I ask that you let me know when you're going to pop by because I want to talk to you. I want to make sure I'm available. Yeah. You can call anytime. You don't have to have an appointment. But, I just want to, and if you have like a quick question, you're stuck on your QuickBooks, call me. If I pick up, I'll answer. I'll help you. I answer questions all the time from some random people that call up. They're like, hey, your QuickBooks. Yeah, I got this going on. I just answer. If I know the answer, I just want to help people, Yeah. If it's some big deal, then I'll say, we gotta take this in some steps. But if it's a quick question, I'll answer it 100%.
You got to start creating those crypto wallet addresses, or people can send you tips.
I know, huh?
Or Patreon account or something.
Especially now with the changes to tax law on chips, huh?
Oh, right. Can I just pay you in the tip instead? There you go. Does that bypass is that a thing now? Like, does that bypass taxes?
Yeah. You have to meet certain requirements for the tips to be bypassed, but yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
That's
crazy.
a real deal now. Yeah, that was part of the big beautiful bill, the tips and the overtime.
Oh, wow.
But you have to meet certain income requirements. It's not just because I had one guy, I'm not going to even, who do you say? I'm not even going to have people pay me. I'm just going to take tips now. And I'm like, that's not the way it works.
Oh, man. Because that's where my mind went too. I was like, oh, I could just do that.
No, there's income requirements and, there's safeguards there. So it's basically, for people, you're not making a whole ton of money. They're not going to tax your tips and they don't want to tax your overtime, which it's good.
Yeah.
But, if you're making $1 million a year, you're going to pay money on your tips.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, man. Good to know. Note to self. All right. Well, we have a segment where the guest from the last episode leaves a question for the next guest.
Okay.
So the question I have for you is, if you could be your younger self that was just starting out their business or their career, what advice would you give them knowing what you know now?
Read more and not be, and I guess, and also to not be fearful, to have done it sooner.
You would have wanted to have done it sooner? Yeah.
When I finally went out on my own, I kind of was, I could have done it sooner. No problem. So I guess I should have been more, have more faith in myself.
Yeah, definitely.
And if I'd have read more, I probably would have.
that's the secret. No. Yeah. I mean, it's knowledge is power, like they say. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any topics about accounting, bookkeeping, CFO, world life stuff that we haven't talked about that you wanted to?
If you're going to hire a bookkeeper or anybody, along that line, do not give them access to your money. So most banks nowadays have what's called a view-only access. That allows the person that's going to be looking at things to look at everything, see everything, but they cannot steal from you. And I'm not saying that bookkeepers are going to steal from you, but they could get hacked and then the hacker can steal from you. So you always want to have, and it could be your admin, it could be your, whoever it is, give them separate access and lock it down and bolt it down. Fraud is rampant right now, really, really bad. I do not, as a bookkeeper, I don't want your bank password. I want my own bank password that you can kick me out of at any time and I can't spend your money. If you need a bookkeeper that is going to be paying your bills, you can set up a hierarchy where they prepare for the bills and then you approve them electronically and then the payments are issued. Don't put the fox guarding the hen house, I guess I'd say. And I mean, pretty much, most bookkeepers are not going to do anything like that. But bookkeepers have been known, they can get hacked like everybody else. And if I don't have access to anything that can hurt you, you're protected. So you have that further peace of mind. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to somebody, I see them, I meet them, and 3 minutes later, they're giving me trying to give me the password to their bank. And I'm like, no, I do not want your bank password.
Yeah, way more responsibility than you want to take on.
And I don't want the responsibility of it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to hire somebody, and I don't care if it's an employee or a bookkeeper, just think about that a little bit and set up a system that's going to protect you. I had a bookkeeper that I have known since like junior high school. Her boss sent her a bill and said, it's, please pay this bill. Here's the ACH instructions. And so she did it. That bill never came from her boss. It was a scammer.
Dang.
It was a scammer. And they, it sounded like his email, but if there had been that safety net where she said, okay, no problem, I'll pay this bill for you. She sends it over. It goes over through the banking system. The banks can set this up. You can set up a bill pay system where this person puts the information in and then it sends over an email that they have to log into their bank to actually approve. So just spend a little bit of time and think about those kind of things so that way, I don't want anybody to have any bad things that happen.
Yeah, it's for your safety and the other person's safety as well. And if there is some like unknown expenditures, like they're not coming to you, you're not going to them, as the business owner or whoever that may be, they know that you can't access it anyways. And
It's not coming from me.
yeah. And so like, they're not going to point fingers at you, and they know that they have to figure it out, and you can help them in that sense. So
Yeah.
it does create that nice separation between the, like access to the financials to be able to make sure that everybody's protected in that case.
Yeah. I want to be able to look at everything, but I do not want to be able to conduct any transactions that are going to cost anybody any money. The other thing that runs rampant with fraud is direct deposits with your payroll. So if you offer direct deposits from your employees, you will get, at some point, you will get an email that says, "Hi, I need to change my direct deposit account." The way out of a lot of this fraud is to just call the person. "Hey, did you want to change your direct deposit account for your phone number? Hey, did you want me to ACH $28,000? Hey." And then you talk to that person and they say, "I don't know what you're talking about. Your email's been hacked because I just got an email from you." And it's worse now because we're all on LinkedIn. So they know where you work. They know who your boss is. They know who the owner is. They know who the bookkeeper is, because it's a lot of this stuff is visible on LinkedIn. So they know that you work at so-and-so place. They know who the payroll person is at that place, and they will figure out what that email is for that person and then send her with your name on it.
Man, the social engineering, that is crazy.
So just pick up the phone and call. Like, that's the way, that's your way around all that.
It's freaking scammers. I hate them.
I know. I've seen it ruin a lot of people's lives. And I'm like, no, don't, just so set up a system. And people will try to give me their bank. And I'm like, I'm not taking it. I'll just send you the code. Here's the password. I'll just send, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh man, that's good. It's very smart.
So that was like my final thing that I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, and that's like really, really important, and definitely eye-opening too. Especially that LinkedIn comment. I'm like, that's crazy. They could really stitch together your whole life story and then really impersonate your boss, the bookkeeper, and so on and so forth. So it really is even more important to make sure that people don't have access.
Yeah, if they can't so what they'll do is they'll figure out what your email is, because it's out there. And if they can't hack your email, they'll just make your email and they'll add like a little dot at the end of it, and you won't even notice it. So that person that's doing payroll won't notice that dot. It looks like it came right from them. Yeah. The first time it happened to me, I got this email and it said, "Hey, Sarah, I need to change my direct deposit." It had my form that I use with the bank account and the routing number off. It was my form that is unique to me. But the guy that sent it, it was one of my 30-year-long clients that passed away. So I knew it was a scam, and I was like,
that's sad.
Yeah, but I knew he wasn't sending it to me, but his email had gotten, he had
compromised.
He had got it compromised, and they searched through his email and they saw the form there from years before, and he had been passed away for a couple of years when they sent it. Just trying.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah.
Just trying. And I'm like, haha. Not today, scammer.
Definitely not today. Hopefully not ever. Also,
yeah,
man.
So far, nothing ever. So far, knock wood.
Man, it's like every industry I think is dealing with some level of this. Is crazy. I think there's way too much fraud, and I don't know even where to start or what to do about it. So just the awareness that we're kind of elevating right now, hopefully, is going to help somebody.
Yeah, and bookkeepers are kind of targets because a lot of them kind of fly fast and loose with the bank accounts and all that. So, you just got to be really careful to protect yourself.
Better safe than sorry. That's for sure. Thank you again, Sarah Warren, CEO and founder of Accounting Angels. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure breaking down accounting in a way that's practical, honest, and actually usable. I mean, I've learned a few tips that I think I might be able to take away. So,
well, thank you for having me. You asked a lot of really great questions. So was pleased to be here.
Thank you. Well, that's well received. Well, to the viewers out there, this conversation really drives home one key idea. Clarity creates confidence. So when you understand your numbers, you stop guessing, you stop reacting, and you start making decisions from a place of control rather than a place of stress. So thank you for watching this episode of the Key Concepts Podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.